Okay guys, welcome to this new series, what I'm doing, because it won on the poll what I posted a couple of days ago. If I've got no motivation, like none at all, or I just don't feel like making an actual video, it takes a lot of editing, I will be reading a book. And this will be a series, so season 1 will be me reading one book, season 2 another book, just like that. And I'll try and make sure there's not mature scenes, like, I'm not going to say it, because I'm trying to make this as innocent as possible. But if these are seen, I'm not going to skip through it. I will be reading it, as you could guess. But I will put a timestamp ahead of the video, tell you when it's going to happen and when it will end. It's your choice if you want to sit through it and read it with me. That's okay. If you don't have to. Okay, I'm going to... I'll be reading 1 or 2 chapters, maybe 3. Depends how I feel. Today I'm only going to read maybe 2. Because I feel sick. As hell. So I'm going to start reading. As you can tell, this is a Mama Nightmare book. This is the person who made it. Hotoroblu13. I might have said that wrong. If so, I'm sorry. Anyway, here we start. The Killer. Trigger blood and others. There's your warning. I'd think most of you guys would be okay with that. If you're not, I'm sorry. I will not be putting a timestamp. Sorry about that, but if it's blood and others, if it's something else, I will put a timestamp in the editing. But if it's just blood and some minor things, I will not be putting any time stop. If you guys, I'll put all the time stops in the description, but I'm also going to be just doing it on the editing. Here we start. Again. Nightmare sat in his mansion alone. He was... Sorry about that. I might accidentally pause the recording. I'll be back. I'll start doing it again. Nightmare sat in his mansion alone. He was in the library reading. He just grabbed a random book and started to read. He grabbed a skeleton physics book. He has read riddles before, but he didn't want to get up to get something else to read. He was like this for at least an hour when he felt a spike in negativity. Nightmare, not having a good meal in a while, decided to mess with whoever it was. He put the book down and fell into a puddle of goop, disappearing in the shadows. He reappeared in an alleyway. He heard someone sobbing so ugly and hard he couldn't tell if they were male or female. Nightmare breathed in the negativity, feeling full and strong already. But when he got to where the crying was, he froze. It was a young skeleton child. He looked about 5, maybe 6. There was blood everywhere and he looked bruised and a few broken bones. There was also a dead body a bit away from him. Nightmare now felt what negative emotions the little skeleton was giving. It was overwhelming fear and a dash of pain and panic. He was breathing so hard he was going to pass out if he didn't calm down. Nightmare walked over to the skeleton, only for him to snap his head up and look at Nightmare in terror, which Nightmare is used to as he is walking closer to the skeleton that had 4 tentacles behind him. The little skeleton's eyelights were fading and back mixed with tears pouring out of his eye sockets. The kid started to panic even more now. Stay away! I will kill you! He shouted. He stood shakily and held up a knife to him. It had dust and blood on it. Nightmare stared at the shaking skeleton. He was terrified. Nightmare, with much of a soft and comforting voice he could muster, he said, "Put the knife down. I'm not here to hurt you," he said. But that didn't stop him from leaping out and went to stab him. Nightmare's tentacle reacted quickly and protected him, making him stab it instead. Nightmare sighed and another one lifted up the child. He struggled. "No, let me go!" he screamed. He was now scared and angry. Nightmare took the knife out of his tentacles and stared at the kid. "I'm not going to hurt you. Just tell me what happened," he asked calmly. The other stopped struggling and went limp. He started to cry again. It's not my fault. It wasn't my fault," he screamed. She tricked me," he whispered. Nightmare nodded, seeing what happened. "What's your name?" he asked. "Hatred," he mumbled. "But call me Killer. I like it better," he mumbled. Nightmare nodded and put him down. This was eventful." Nightmare stood on the ground looking down. I have nowhere to go," he whispered. Did Nightmare feel pity or something for a kid? Or something else for the kid? He sighed once again and picked him up again, with his tentacle pulling him close to his chest. Killer was confused. "I'm not going to leave you here. Then someone will call the cops and you will probably be stripped of somewhere and tortured. No way I'm letting that happen." Nightmare glowed his eyes. Nightmare's 1 minute. Nightmare growled. His eyes clouded. Nightmare nodded and buried his head into Nightmare's chest. Nightmare smiled and they disappeared into the shadows. It's been a few days since Nightmare brought home Killer. He made a room for him to choose to his own. He made a room for him close to his own. He found out on the first night that got a pretty bad night terror. He got a pretty bad night terror. But what Nightmare can piece together, Killer lived in a bad neighborhood and with bad parents. Something happened and someone who Killer always calls she manipulated. Sorry, I can't pronounce that word. Manipulated him to kill people, saying it will help them or something sick like that. Killer was quiet for the most part, and he was actually 10 years old. He was just small, very small. He climbed to get something. His eyelights were full and gone as well, which Nightmare wasn't surprised about. Nightmare had to catch him a few times when he climbed on the counter. Nightmare was in the living room reading a book on parenting whilst Killer was on the floor with a children's book. Seeing that he found it cool to read, Nightmare could see that Killer was very outgoing and friendly. Didn't show much emotion, but happy. But he was happy. He was just shy around Nightmare for the time being. Nightmare had the news on. They were looking for the killer on the monster and the human in the alleyway, thinking Killer is dead. The news was just playing something about traffic right now. Mr. Nightmare, came a soft voice. Nightmare looked away from his book and saw Killer standing by the couch. He held the book in his hands and he was looking down. "Yes?" Nightmare said calmly. Killer looked up and brought his book to him. What does this word mean?" he asked. Nightmare put his book down and lifted Killer so he was sitting next to him and looked at the page where Killer was reading. "It means running, like a lake rushing in a storm," Killer said. Nightmare said. Killer nodded. Thank you," he whispered. Nightmare nodded softly at Killer and rubbed his head. "No need to be scared of me, Killer," he said. Killer blushed and nodded. He didn't move and stayed snuggled into Nightmare's side and continued to read. Nightmare smiled once more and took his book and began to read again, enjoying the little one's company. And like Nightmare had seen, Killer got more confident around him and started to call him Mama Nightmare or Mother. He did ask him he didn't have to call him that, but he insisted. But he was still awkward around him. First chapter. This is going to be adorable. Help me. Okay, this is all I'm going to be reading today because I feel sick. And I have to retake this. So this is my second take. Not bad. But anyway, guys, bye. I hope some of you guys actually watch this. If not, that's fine. But anyway, thank you guys. Bye, guys. Be seeing you later. There'll be no timestamps in this video, so bye.